This is an article rewritten by David Holt, not sure who the original author was, on Alabama Folklore in 1937. And these are some of the most interesting parts to me. Alabama has not been the human melting pot that many other states have been, hence its growth of tradition has not been colored by the beliefs of varied nationalities. Only 3 broad classifications need to be outlined to cover the subject of folklore: Indian, Negro, and the lore of the white man. Indian folklore is almost completely native and expresses itself in tradition, which discloses the poetic characteristic of the race and its approach to the processes of nature. Indian lore generally accounts for most geographical nomenclature of the state. With only 2 exceptions, every river in the state has an Indian name. At times it is impossible to separate the white and the Negro lore into separate classifications. This is due to 2 main facts. First, both races in the early days of the state faced common obstacles in the clearing of land and establishing the agricultural dynasty that ruled until comparatively recent years. Secondly, the close association of the whites and blacks in older days, and still continuing to a large extent. From infancy to adolescence, the majority of the whites were nurtured by Negro nurses who instilled in them the fancies, fears, and fables inherited from African sources. The white man's religion, and particularly his hymns, furnished the basis for Negro spirituals, through which recurs the thought of blood sacrifice and some spectacular ascent into heaven. And the folklore of the Negro in the South is generic, not specific. The homogeneity lacking in the white settlers is found to an astonishing degree amongst the blacks who were brought in as slaves from many sections of Africa. While tribal practices and customs have disappeared with the advantages of education and environment extended to the Negro, there are still traces of the ancient beliefs amongst the oldsters and even in the younger generation of this country. Dangers and cruelties remembered or handed down from days of savagery, slavery, or imprisonment have left more than a mere echo of protest and fear in their lore, which even lighted streets and a fuller understanding of natural laws have not yet been eradicated. Their superstitions are too firmly rooted to be wiped out by a few generations of book education. The fear of death and the ominous warnings that portend its arrival are still full-blown in the smaller communities, where the Negro retains his naturalness to a large extent. The conjure man, even in the cities, is not without his power. Yet this is a side not shown to the whites, who, as a class, is not admitted to the inner mysteries. They may confide in a white friend who has won complete confidence, but not to one they merely know by sight. The clannishness of the Negro is unbroken, as any householder seeking a servant who has failed to appear in the morning can testify. With the most gentle approach, inquiries in the neighborhood of this servant's house as to the exact location will bring blank faces and a shake of the head, accompanied by an "I don't know. You may be the law." And though the person you seek is not held in especially high esteem, she is black, and therefore she is to be protected. This is simply an aside to illustrate. That is simply an aside to illustrate the difficulty of learning more than the Negro is willing to tell. After discussing Uncle Remus and the conjure man, some of these points I thought were a little bit funny. Another story dates back to slavery days, when a slave purchased a charm that would permit him to cuss his master out with impunity. Charm in pocket, the slave made the test and was rewarded with a tremendous beating. His complaint to the conjure man was met with the explanation, "Man, what I gave you was a running charm. Why didn't you run?" This section is regarding bad omens. The devil is not a religious symbol of evil with the Negro. He is a person of dire power, and his realm is ablaze with everlasting fires. Birds know just what it is like, mammies tell their white charges. The robin, for instance, has a red breast because of its daily trips to hell to try to quench the fires with drops of water he carries in his beak. The blue jay is not a godly bird. He is familiar with the devil, and he spends every Friday with him to help rebuild the fires. The superstition is not the black man's alone, because many a white will tell you that you never see or hear a jaybird on Friday. The incarnation of the devil will be found in many of the spirituals which the Negro comforts himself in times of stress or uses to uplift his emotions. These spirituals may be truly called folk songs in that they express fully the racial interpretation of the deity and his greatest foe, Satan. This is exemplified in the following opening verses of the ship Gwinterland was on the shore. The ship going to land us on the shore. There we will live forevermore. I don't like old Satan, and old Satan don't like me. And there's a section about songs of play, and one of them I recognize, except in the version I have here, the last word is written once, but the version I remember is repeated 3 times. What they say is the equivalent of peas, porridge pot hot will be found in rhyme. Mary Knack, dressed in black, silver buttons all down her back. But that's not, I remember it being, oh, Mary Knack, 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 all dressed in black, 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 with silver buttons, 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 all down her back, back, back. I don't know where I heard that, but I remember it. The last section is called The Death of Folklore. The simple tales that have colored existence for generations also become fewer, unless captured and put on printed page. The line of storytellers grows thin. Widespread education, new modes of thought and life are responsible for the passing. To preserve these legends that are so essential a part of the history of a people, the chronicler must prepare his records with haste before the sources have dried. These are some stories of haunted. This section is compiled by Margaret McCoo, Folklore of Alabama, dealing with haunted houses or ghost stories. Up in Shelby County, a man died with smallpox. The same night, my husband had to spend the night in this same house where he died, and all during the night little balls of fire played about over the bed and the floor. The man was said to have plenty of money buried about, and these balls of fire were signs trying to show my husband where the money was. The Van Hunter family went away for the summer, leaving their cook as caretakers of the house. She was left with supplies of food and a 5-gallon can of kerosene oil for her lamp, with special instructions to be very careful. Instead, she had the 5-gallon can over the stove, pouring the oil to kindle the fire. The can exploded, and her clothing caught fire. Help responded to her screams. She ran all over the place, a burning blaze. When caught, she was burned to a crisp. Cooked flesh falling off her bones, she died in agony. Until this day, the Negroes say that at night you can see a ball of fire rolling over the path where she had run. The house finally burned, and still this rolling ball of fire was there. The Negroes would say, I seen Patty last night. This happened in Eufaula, on the hill, and the story was told in New York. Jack-o'-lanterns. On the Cheney-Hatchie Creek, 3 miles south of Eufaula, there are jack-o'-lanterns, and if you see one, make a cross on the ground and go to the west, not in the direction of the Cheney-Hatchie. If you do, you are lost. The jack-o'-lantern will lead you into this creek, and you are destroyed. The last one is a story about a social outcast, Miss Ellen Payne. Ellen Payne, Negro, Eufaula's witch, died several years ago. She lived on Van Buren Street and was quite a noted character. She was black as the ace of spades and walked with a long stick and was always followed by her big black dog. She was a member of the Catholic Church, the only Negro in the county being a Catholic. She said she didn't associate with niggers, and every Negro in the community was deathly afraid of her, and no money could make them pass her house after dark. If she put a spell on them, they would pay her any money to get her to take it off. The mothers of Eufaula controlled their children by saying, "If you are bad, Ellen Payne will get you." Ellen Payne is gone, to the delight of the Negroes and the children. These are some stories from Ed West. In 1939, he worked for Satterwhite's Furniture, and he sold the furniture in installments, and this is some of his experience as a white salesman amongst the black community. He talks about their superstitions and their way of speaking. When I'm out collecting on certain days each week, if they haven't got the money to pay on their weekly, tri-weekly, or monthly installment, they run and jump in bed and pretend that they're sick, sometimes at death's door, moaning and groaning. We drive on down the road, and when we come back, they'll be hard at work in the wash pot or in the field. We drive up to the door, pretend that we're going to take the furniture. As a matter of fact, we seldom have to. Negroes are a good pay. Then they say, "Wait a minute, boss. I'm going to borrow that money from my sister. She had it all the time." Sometimes they pay $1 a month, 25 cents weekly or $2 a month, 50 cents weekly or more according to the contract. If they miss a month, they make it up the next. We're never hard on them. I'd rather they take long paying than take the old furniture back. When they come in to buy chairs, they're always asking for setting chairs. I tell them all chairs are made to sit in. One old Negro said, "No, sir, boss. Setting chairs are made for white folks, and the cane bottom setting chairs are made for niggers." Was sewing a dresser to a Negro lately, and almost sold it when the Negro woman with her said, "No, God, I won't have that dresser. Somebody died where that dresser was. Look at that glass, how dull looking it is. Now, if they had put a sheet over it, it wouldn't have gone dull on you." Then the other Negro woman said, "Well, I expect I better get it anyway, because it's dull. If you look too long in a bright-looking glass, it makes you a sinner." One day I was out collecting, and a Negro woman told me to just wait a minute. She had sent for her old man, and that he was coming to pay me. He came hurriedly with an axe on his shoulder. She said, "Nigga, ain't you got no better gumption than to bring an axe in the house? Don't you know that's bad luck?" He looked at her with disgust and said, "There ain't but one bad luck, old woman, and that's to miss heaven and to go to hell." Buster, my truck driver, is very superstitious, and I get a lot of kick out of him. One day, a rabbit ran across the road in front of the truck. He got out, turned his pockets wrong side out, saying he wasn't going to have bad luck, and "Mr. Ed, you better turn yours in." I told him I wasn't superstitious, but before I got home, I had lost my watch. He said, "I told you to turn your pockets." Another time, it was a very fair day, and we were riding along across the highway. We had stopped to interview a Negro when a large, dead limb fell from a tree nearby. Buster said, "Mr. Ed, look out for rain." I said, "Buster, it's not going to rain in a week." And sure enough, before 5 o'clock, it was raining in torrents. Buster said, "White folks don't believe in nothing like that. But you see it's true, don't you?" We saw some Negro standing in the road with a gray mule. The Negro with the mule was trying to sell it to the other Negro, when the Negro standing nearby said, "Don't never buy a gray mule. When they die, they turn into haunts, and they'll come back and haunt you for working them so hard." So the other Negro man went on down the road with his mule to try to sell it to someone else. One day we passed a Negro on the highway, and I thought I recognized her as the one I wanted to see. I said, "Buster, look back and see if that's the Negro I want to see." Buster said, "No, sir, Mr. Ed. It's bad luck to look back and you know what I done told you about bad luck. He's going to turn his truck around, and I'm not going to look back. They ask for funny things in the store. A linoleum rug is a magnolia, electric stove, a leg twister, a Victrola, a Victoria, artificial flowers, artificious flowers, buffet, a goo face. One day an old Negro farmer came in to pay a bill, and he got the money from the president. He said he got the money from the president and said he sure is kind to give us farmers money. But I want to ask you, is the president a man or a woman? I think it were a man, but he got a woman's name, Roosevelt. But I am proud of one thing for sure. I ain't on relief. They have a language of their own, but now I know it. This interview is about Sam Lynn, known as a fisherman and the river rat. It was conducted January 11th of 1939. Sam's story is told by his wife of 25 years, Hattie Wright, and through her words, it's easy to imagine the life of a fisherman in Eufaula. He had 5 children before he married her. How he learned to swim and fish, the manner of his work, the fish fries, and the geography of Eufaula could be easily imagined. After his story is finished, I'll also read the story of his father, Ransom, who was originally from Virginia. Sam lives on the banks of the Chattahoochee River in a little 4-room cottage, high up and with concrete steps leading to it. These are the words of his wife, Hattie. Sam has been a fisherman all his life. He started when he was just a little boy. Me and Sam married about 25 years ago. His youngest child was just 2 years old when I married him. His mom was dead, and he and Sam were living down there all by themselves. They had a woman that cooked and looked after little Sam and took care of him. As far as his children are concerned, Sam always took care of them. He supported them, clothed them, and fed them. The oldest 2 boys are fishermen with him. He pays them just like he does his other help. His 2 girls live up north. Little Sam lives with us. He railroads. I love him just like my own son, and he is smart and a good boy. He's not married. I hope that he won't. Nigger gals are so trifling these days. Ain't got no morals at all. Sam says the best he can recollect is that he was about 10 years old when he first started fishing. He's 60 now, so that means he's been fishing 50 years. The way he started was this. Ransom Lynn, Sam's pa, owned this place on the river. I'll tell you about him later. Mr. George Vaughn had a 1-room house further down the river. He's been dead now about 20 years. Well, he's the man who learned Sam how to fish and swim. At first, Sam said he used to follow him just like a little puppy. He would get up before day and go with him in his bateau fishing. In them days, they used to go to the Chewalla Creek. It's against the law now. Mr. Vaughn learned him how to set out traps and lines. He learned him everything there is about fishing. He makes good money at it. Mr. Vaughn learned all the older white men in Eufaula how to swim, and Sam learned all the niggers. Whenever anybody fell in the river or jumped in to kill themselves, Sam and Mr. Vaughn would always do the diving to find the bodies. Since Mr. Vaughn has been dead, Sam's been doing it, and many a body has been found. Folks don't drown themselves like they used to, though, I'm glad to say. In Sam's young days, he used to swim across the Chattahoochee right here at the wharf 4 and 5 times without stopping. And they say it's the 3rd to swiftest river in the world, and it's terrible wide. They call him the river rat. When he was a young man, he lived on the river, slept in a tent, camped there. I thought it was awful, but he would do it. Now he's not well. His heart is bad. He works too hard. Gets up at 4 in the morning. I get up and cook his breakfast. He goes all day without food, and when he comes home at night, he eats too much. In the days when the steamboats were running, those were the days for him. The Kelly, the Bradley, the city of Eufaula, he never missed a boat. He could hear miles before they could see the smoke. When Sam gets through in a day, the winter days are so short, he puts his lines out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then comes home. I always have a good hot meal for him with plenty of coffee. He won't eat fish except now and then. He smells them so much he turns against them. He likes his collard greens and beef steak. Now, he goes back at 8 and gets his fish off the lines and puts them in the fish boxes all along the sides of the river. That keeps them alive. The boxes have a wire top that lets water in. He has 4 and 5 men who work for him. He owns 12 bateaux. He has his fish boxes miles up and down the river and creeks on both sides. He changes them every now and then. His fish mostly in the Chattahoochee River, but he also works in the Eufaula, the White Oak, and the Barber Creeks. His average catch a day is about 200 pounds, sometimes 150, sometimes 250. He doesn't fish on Saturday or Sunday. He's got religion. He wouldn't fish on Sunday for nothing. Sam couldn't get along without his little nip when he goes working. It's so damp and foggy and wet on the banks. He would die of pneumonia if he didn't have it. But I ain't never seen him drunk in his life. He knows how to take it. It's a pity these other nigger men and white gentlemen don't know how to. Sam is honest too. That's his religion. He would cut off his right hand before he would sell a fish that wasn't all right. His fish are all breathing and wiggling on his lines. He works every day and night from January till June, then stops off in June. In summer months he has his fish fries. Don't sell fish in the summer because it's too hot to keep them. When he has his fish fries, the fish are all still alive. That's why they're so good. Sam is famous for his fish. He puts out his nets from January until the 15th week of March. Then after that, he just hooks and lines. In September, he starts back to work. He doesn't work in the Christmas month, though. He has certain days to sell his fish in different places. He sells 4 lines, 25 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents, $1, depending on how many and the kind of fish. He has better luck catching it at night than he does in the day. And then the best time is in the full moon. He catches channel catfish, bream, perch, and carp. These are his best sellers, but suckerfish, rockfish, mudcat, eels, and any fish that he runs in the stream, he gets them too. He's lucky and they calls him an expert. If he comes across a tainted fish, he gives them to the niggers. They hang around him like Grant hang around Richmond. The stronger a fish smells, the better a nigga likes him. He's made good money too. He has a car. Not much of a car, but it's a fish car. He sells fish in Eufaula Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Thursdays and Fridays he goes out of town. He don't go himself though, he sends one of his men. They peddle Georgia, Thursday, Cuthbert, Dawson, Albany, and little places. Then Friday they peddle Alabama, Clayton, Comer, Midway, and Union Springs. He has regular customers and always sells out. Saturdays he sells out fish to niggas. He sells cut fish to niggas. Cut fish is the big red fish he cuts in small pieces. The red fish he catches weighs from 8 to 12 pounds and more. All the red fish he gets in the week time he puts in his fish boxes and keeps them alive till Saturday morning. Then about 4 o'clock he gets up with one or two of the men. He gathers them and cuts them in small pieces and puts them in carts and takes them into town before 9 o'clock. He sold plumb out to niggas and poor white folks. Sam comes back home and has a day of rest. He needs it because he always overworked. There are a lot of folks right here in Eufaula have been living here all their lives. They have no idea what a big business this fish business is right here. He's had some narrow escapes too. Fell in the river lots. Of course, he's a fine swimmer, but the last time his clothes and boots were so heavy, it was hard for him to swim and the current was swift. He lost his gun and his bateau. The bateau was overloaded. That's what made it sink. He's a good bateau maker too. He makes his own boats. He also makes boats for sale. They're rowboats. Fish bite better when the moon is full. He has a camp on the mouth of the White Oak Creek on the banks of the Chattahoochee River. He uses spring lizards and stump grubs to bait his hooks and trot lines. A trot line goes from one side of the river to the other with heavy weights on it. The spring lizards are caught in little branches or springs under leaves and moss and make fine bait. A set hook is just one hook, close on the bank, scattered up in down and sometimes 100 or more tied on willow trees or put in stick baits stuck on the bank. Some of these are set hooks. Catch catfish overnight weighing 12 pounds and over. He fishes 2 with a basket made cone shape out of white oak or hickory strips. This is baited with old cheese or peanut meal or sour meal put in baskets at the bottom of the river or creek bed. A wire is tied to a tree on the bank to hold it. This is made just like a rat trap. If a large fish gets in it, it can never get out. He puts all these lines out at night. His fishing is done mostly at night. He has little nigger boys that come and get most of his bait, spring lizards and stump grubs. They find stump grubs mostly in old wood, old stumps, and trees. Stump grubs are worms. I'll tell you a secret, Missy. I know you won't tell, but that's all right. I'm not going to use any names. Many a night, Sam comes home just laughing. A lot of these white gentlemen that go fishing, they don't have any luck. They buy a string of live fish from Sam. They go home with a string of fish, kicking. They strut up in town and tell everybody and their wives about what a fine fisherman they are. And this is what you call fish caught with a silver hook. Sam has a silver jingling in his pocket, and he's glad of that. I told you he doesn't sell fish in the summer, but he has fish fries from June till September. He makes right good money at it. It depends on how many comes. He gets 50 cents per person. They always let him know how many are coming so he knows how much to fix for. They bring the pickles, the bread, the beer, and things. She winked at me and said, "You know what I mean when I say things. I mean liquor." He furnishes the fish, the onion bread, and the coffee, and it's no easy job. If it's a big fish fry, 50 men or more, he fishes 2 nights, all night, long, straight, running. My God, how those men can eat fish. Some eat 10 and 15 apiece. You know, a drink or two before eating gives you an appetite. I help him always at the fries. I help him cook. And just as a quick note, there are a lot of stories about how common fish fries were in Virginia, and also mentioning that his father came from Virginia. Even though this is Alabama, you could also imagine it as being part of the tradition in Tidewater, Virginia. So to continue, he has a long wooden table that he made. We have 2 large coffee pots that hold 2 gallons apiece. We put 2 pounds of coffee apiece in the sacks in each pot. That makes enough coffee. We have over 110 cups and use paper plates. We make 2 fires. We get our wood first, then we clean our fish. That's not hard. Then we make our onion bread, hush puppies. To make them, you put a pair of onions real fine, mix that with meal, add salt, make them in small balls and fry in the same pot the fish are fried in. Put them together when they rise to the top and they're done, golden brown, piping hot, and they're good. We use as much as 3 or 4 gallons of boiling lard. Our fries are done about 50 cents a plate. I asked Heidi how she liked living near the river. She said, "It's lonely sometimes. When the wind blows at night, sounds are lonely. The hooting of the owl from way down the river, the whippoorwill, the bullfrogs crying for rain, and the crickets. I don't like to hear screech owls. That's the sound of death. When the river overflows, Sam checks out. He takes out his traps, boxes, and lines. We're too high up on the bluff for it to come to our home. It's a big river, and it gets over into Georgia terrible. Sam's good and steady now. Before I married him, he was a bad man after women in his young days, but he ain't no more. We're both getting along. Sam was proud of his pa, Ransom Lynn, and his ma, Mandy. Ransom's been dead for about 15 years. He was born in Virginia. He was Lieutenant Lynn's bodyguard. Went through the war with him until Gettysburg. He died on the battlefield there in the arms of Mr. William Bray of Eufaula, and as he was dying, gave ransom to Mr. Bray. After the war, Mr. Bray brought Ransom back to Eufaula with him and built him a house on the bluff. He was a carriage driver and butler for Mr. Chauncey Rhodes. He married Mandy Thomas and they had 7 children, Sam being one of the youngest. Sam always liked to talk of his father. And this is from the interviewer, Gertha Curry. To have one's home on the high banks is pleasant. Sam's home is on such a bank. One could look across the lovely Chattahoochee, see the sunrise and set, see in the moonlight and starlight the deep, swift river, and the expanse of fertile savannas below it. The Alabama side, all down the steep 150-foot bank of Sam's home, nature is landscaped lavishly with an abundance of green growth, oak and hickory trees, long and short-leaf pines, white, rare, erica, 7-bark, heart-shaped leaves of red bud, magnolias starred with blossoms, blooming elderberries, mulberries festooned with gray moss, lacy maiden hair ferns hanging in bunches from the marl banks. In the spring, the yellow jasmine, dogwood, honeysuckle, and redbud gives color to the green. All of this glorious bounty spreads to the water's edge. Nestled in all this loveliness is the cottage of Sam Lynn, fisherman and river rat. This story of Sam's father is given by Miss Ed Densler, daughter of William Bray, and the last part by Mrs. Ed Long, daughter of Chauncey Rhodes, both now residing in Eufaula. It was at the bloody battle of Appomattox, in the thicket of the fight, where the dead and dying were, that William Bray felt someone pulling him by his arm and turning and saw a young Negro holding a dying boy. It was young Lieutenant Lynn of Virginia, and Ransom was his body servant that had been with him throughout the war. He was in the cavalry. Bray helped carry the wounded boy off the field and for days nursed him with the help of Ransom, but he died. William Bray said he had never seen greater grief and devotion than that of the slave Ransom for his young master. Lieutenant Lynn knew he was dying and gave Ransom to William Bray. Bray had a leave of absence and brought him home to Eufaula to his wife. They built him a home, and he married the Negro girl Mandy, and they had several children. Sam Lynn, his son, still resides in Eufaula and is a fisherman by trade. For years, Ransom worked for the Brays and was their carriage driver. Several years after the war, they sold their horses and carriages, and he became a carriage driver then for Chauncey Rhodes. Ransom was a lover of horses and little boys, and all the little boys in the neighborhood were his friends. Jamie was the little 5-year-old son of Mr. and Mrs. Chauncey Rhodes. One day, Ransom was plowing one of the horses in the garden. The large stable had a loft above filled with hay. He said that he smelt smoke, and looking up, to his horror, he saw a flame coming from the top, and Jamie and another little playmate, Donald Robinson, dancing and clapping their hands with glee. The Negro rushed madly to the steps, but it was a roaring inferno. He then climbed up the side of the building and rescued the 2 little boys. Jamie explained that he had made a cunning little fire and he had run up in the loft to see it burn. The Negro had no time to call for help in his desperate effort to save the little boys. He saved the lives of both, but they were badly burned. It was a year before Jamie could walk. Ransom was a cripple for life. His feet were so terribly burned that he could never work again. But Mr. Rhodes took care of him until his son became a man, and then Jamie cared for him until his death. His loyalty to Lieutenant Lynn as a slave was splendid, and as an ex-slave, he was a hero. This interview was from August of 1937. Dr. T.V. McCoo was born in Glenville, Alabama. He worked on his father's farm and clerked in his father's store until he was 14 years of age. During that time, he attended the rural school in the Glenville community. He taught school in his home village for 1 year, entered Leonard Medical College in 1902, and received his M.D. from that institution in 1906. He did general practice in the city of Selma, and he was an anesthetist in the Burwell Hospital from 1907 to 1908. After completing his professional course in 1906, for necessary finance, he was compelled to return to his hotel job in Atlantic City, New Jersey, where he had previously worked as a bellboy and waiter during vacations. In Selma, he was associated with the late Dr. L. Burwell, an eminent physician and the owner of the Burwell Hospital. He married in 1908. He has one son who is a recent graduate from the Meharry Medical College and is now interning at the Hubbard Hospital, Nashville, Tennessee. Dr. McCoo, located in Eufaula, Alabama, in 1909, where he now practices. Too much cannot be said of the very valuable experience he gained from the close association he had joined with the late Dr. Walter S. Britt, an outstanding surgeon of the state. He is the only Negro physician of the city. He is the recipient of the highly appreciated courtesies and cooperation from the white surgeons and physicians of the city. Unusual opportunities, courtesies, and open doors are offered to him through the Britt Infirmary and the Salter Hospital of this city. Although hard, conscientious worker, he does not consider that he has done anything out of the ordinary in his profession, but he has. He's very modest. Dr. McCoo has generously given his service to the people of his race. He is highly educated and is a splendid surgeon and physician, and has access to both hospitals of Eufaula, where he carries his patients to the Negro wards. His parents were slaves of Glenville, Alabama, his father belonging to Dr. McCoo of Glenville. His mother belonged to the Daniels of Glenville. He is the outstanding Negro of this community and is doing more to uplift his race than any other. He and his wife are very much prominent in their church work. Levi Thomas, with only 1 week of school and very little education, has an up-to-date pressing shop, taxis, and up-to-date undertaking establishment with hearse and ambulance. He has accumulated a lot of property. His second wife is a graduate of Tuskegee and has also been a great help to him. He's an honorable, high-toned Negro and highly thought of in his community by both the white and colored. With hard, untiring work, he has made success.